nice to have the window open, not the air
Are
conditioner.
we
We're
okay?
good when you are, as long as your mic is on.
Okay, it is. Welcome, everyone, to the Municipality of Tweed Council meeting of September 24th, 2024. We always begin our meetings with our land acknowledgement. The Municipality of Tweed recognizes that our work takes place on traditional Indigenous territories, including the Huron-Wendat, Anishinaabe, and the Haudenosaunee peoples. We recognize and respect the history, languages, and cultures of the First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all Indigenous peoples, whose presence continues to enrich our communities. Miigwech. Please join us now for O Canada. Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder for the approval of today's agenda? Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Demarche. Any questions on said agenda? Seeing none, be it resolved that the agenda for the September 24th, 2024 regular council meeting be approved as presented. All in favor? Thank you. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Could I have a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the minutes of September 10th, 2024 regular council meeting, please? Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Thank you, Councillor Fleeler. Any questions on said minutes? Seeing none, all in favor. There will be a closed meeting. Council will hold a closed meeting during the regular council meeting pursuant to Section 2392 of the Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001, C25, as amended to consider the following matters. B, personal matters about identify individual, including municipal or local board employees. D, labor relations or employee negotiations. E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local boards. And F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for the purpose. We'll move on to my mayor's remarks. There's always much to be thankful for in this community. For example, congratulations to the Tweed Hungerford Agricultural Fair Board for pulling off another wildly successful Tweed Harvest Festival. We also extend our sincere appreciation to all the community groups, businesses, and individuals that contributed so much to making this weekend event one to remember. Also, thank you to Rochelle Hardesty, Cindy Chow, and your host of awesome chefs and farmers for tempting our taste buds with those delicious morsels of yet another amazing taste of Tweed. And another thank you to Rajat Home Hardware and to all the volunteers who took care of planting 44 fruit trees as part of the Municipal Edible Forests campaign. On September 10th, I convened a late afternoon meeting at the Central Hastings Support Network office to explore what happened to our local transit network. In attendance were CHSN board members, Mayors Mullen and O'Neill, municipal reps, as well as MP Cramp Nyman, representatives from MPP Breezy's office, and Brandy Hodge from the United Way. We were all deeply concerned at how quickly the transit program was about to terminate. At the end of the discussion, it was agreed that the United Way would work with CHSN to determine what aspects of the program can be saved. Following the meeting, I made my way to Ottawa for the OEMC conference. I attended the Ontario East Municipal Council from the 11th to the 12th, and in my company was Rochelle Hardesty. Hastings County had a cancellation and extended to me an invitation to attend. I was grateful for the opportunity and thanked the county for paying all costs associated with the conference. On the evening of the 11th, I tapped into the OMA Bay of Quinte open communication chat where they focused on many healthcare issues facing Ontario residents. Thank you, Councillors Fleeler and Valaket, for bringing your shovels to help with the planting of our edible forest on September 14th. I unfortunately had to miss the event due to a funeral. On the 17th, I chaired the Planning and Development Committee meeting. I then participated in the County Finance, Property and Personnel meeting. On the 18th, I chaired the Belleville General Hospital Foundation Finance Committee. On the 19th, I chaired the BGHF board meeting. That evening, I attended the Kiwanis meeting. On the 20th, I joined fellow mayors Mullen, O'Neill, Deline, Blackburn, and CAO Raybone for a transit meeting organized by MPP Rick Bressie. We had yet to hear from the United Way, but we're happy to hear that CHSN has extended the transit service until October 31st. We concluded we will not make any decisions until we receive the United Way report. After the meeting, I remained behind to talk to MPP Bressie about our infrastructure dilemma, with 3 bridges now in immediate need of replacement. I noted that we are taking advantage of all provincial funding opportunities and look forward to his supporting our applications. I also reminded him of my offer to meet with Premier Ford and to arrange a meeting with local mayors in the municipality of Tweed. He noted that the Premier is aware of my requests. That evening, I volunteered at Kiwanis Trivia Night. On the 21st, I attended the Belleville General Hospital Foundation Gala. This year's fund of need was for new hospital beds. These beds are very expensive, ranging from $17,000 for a standard bed to $25,000 to $50,000 for an ICU bed to $100,000 for one of the advanced beds. We typically think that the province funds such needs, and the foundations focus on big equipment items like nuclear medicine cameras or X-ray machines, or MRIs or CAT scans. The province funds salaries and operating costs. Pretty much all equipment needs, including scopes, scanners, beds, are the responsibility of the residents served by the hospital. The BGH, for example, has a backlog of $9 million in immediate equipment requests. That is in addition to the $20 million that local foundations have to raise to support the Ministry of Health's requests that our local hospitals implement a health information system, which is costing $40 million. The Belleville General Hospital Foundation is required to raise $9 million of that $20 million. So $6 million in equipment needs and an additional $9 million for the HIS. Quinte Healthcare will be required to borrow the remaining $20 million to make up the difference. You would think that an HIS that is designed to improve health care across the province is something that the Ministry of Health would have covered. On the 21st, I toured many of the fun Harvest Festival events. Thank you, Councillors Fleeler and Valaket, for joining me for the Taste of Tweed. I stocked up on food for the week. I couldn't believe the size of those portions. On the 23rd, I met with Mayo Hako, ED at our Gateway Community Health Center, to explore an exciting development opportunity, as well as to discuss the status of our request for 2 additional doctors. Mayo noted that the MPP Bressie has been very supportive of our request for those additional doctors. This morning, I was joined by Deputy Mayor Demarche and Councillors Fleeler and Valaket, CAO Raybone, and Rochelle Hardesty for a tour of the new Actinolite building. It is a wonderful addition to our community. The 24-unit complex is absolutely beautiful, with 8 accessible ground floor units equipped to accommodate those who are wheelchair bound. The supportive and affordable housing project will meet the needs of many in our community. Thank you, Janet McGee, developer and owner of the apartment, for helping those in need and making a difference in our community. This project design is sure to appeal to many small rural communities. Thank you. Okay, so we have a planning meeting. We're hosting a planning meeting of a zoning amendment for ZA 15/24. The purpose and effect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is to change the zoning of a 1.5 acre and a 1.0 acre severed lots from the rural RU zone to the rural residential RR zone. The retained lands shall remain zoned rural RU and environmentally sensitive evaluated wetland ES-EW. The rezoning of the service lots to RR is a condition of severances B33/24 and B32/24 and B33/24, and will provide for the appropriate zoning for the size and proposed use of the new parcels. Additionally, severance B34/24 lot addition is 0.07 acres and will be rezoned from rural RU to rural residential to provide for consistent zoning with the RR zone of the benefiting parcel. Is there anybody in the room that would like to speak to that? No, see none. Anybody online that would like to speak to that? Okay, could I have a mover and a seconder to get that on the table? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Demarche. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Are there any questions from council on this? Seeing none, be it resolved that council authorize staff to bring forward amending bylaw at the next regular council meeting. All in favor? Thank you. Delegations. Jimmy Keniston is on board.
Councilors. Thank you. Thank you. You've got my report for last year's event. Sorry, the staff. People that make things happen. I'm sorry. My report last year. Of noteworthy information, I'd like to emphasize we had over 900 folks attend Trunk or Treat last year. We had, of those, over 600 were kids. And I want to emphasize this event is all about the kids. That's what it's for. Particularly noteworthy was the relocation of the event from where it had been for the previous 10 years to the new location at the boat launch, I'm going to call it parking area. Prior to the removal of the trees, it was a particularly spooky and atmospheric location. Now we have more trees, addition to trees, and it's going to be just as fine. But the reception from everybody, the kids and the parents, was just wonderful. Everybody thought it was just a fantastic place to make it happen. My big sponsors, people like the fire department, OPP, and my food vendors really appreciated the preferred parking and access that the new location offered for them and for the guests. And I guess to make it short and sweet, I'm here to request your support in conducting the 12th annual Trunk or Treat in the same location again this year. We have commitments from the fire department, from Hastings Central OPP, as well as some EMS folks, and my food vendors who have been fantastic in supplying hot dogs, hot chocolate, and French fries free of charge are back on board with me as well this year. We have a record number of folks that have expressed interest to come in as trunkers. So we are blessed with the problem of finding space for them, but we will make that work too. So in summary, I'm looking forward to a really good year. And unlike last year, no snow. But again, thank you, Rochelle, for everything you do as point person in making arrangements to make the venue as wonderful as it is for us. So sorry you couldn't arrange to have hydro installed for us this year. But we have a generous trunker who's going to be bringing a reasonably sized generator and is going to facilitate some additional decorations and atmospheric enhancements, shall we call it. But anyway, with that in mind, I'll offer an opportunity for any questions or any concerns anybody might have.
Firstly, I would just like to thank you for undertaking to do this each and every year. And it's a wonderful and safe way for children to celebrate Halloween. So we're very grateful to you and your team, because I always know Jim never just takes the credit. He always extends it to his team. So you and your team, thank you once again, Deputy Mayor Demarche.
Mayor, Jim, I watched you when you first brought this idea up, and every year you come back to us and you say, you can't get any bigger, can't get any better. Well, you never cease to amaze us. And the feedback from the community is amazing. I wish you well, and I hope you continue this for many years to come.
Take that the way you need it. Yeah, it's a lot of work. It is, and I'm without my team and without the support of community members, it can't happen. So yeah, my name may be there, but it's there's a bunch of people involved in making this a success.
Councillor Fleeler.
Well, your worship, I'd just like to say that we have a Jim Kennison in our municipality, and every municipality needs one.
Okay, now they're gonna be calling you and come out and serve in their communities. Don't.
Who's ours?
Oh, no, I do have people calling, trying to determine how they can put an event like this on, because they're finally, then the message is going out and they're finally hearing about it and they think it's a great idea, so.
And people ask me and I tell them to get a hold of Jim.
Super. Be happy to help.
The footprint's laid.
Yeah. Okay, could I have a mover and a seconder to table this Jim Kynaston and Tree Trunker trade event? Thank you, Councillor Palmer. Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Be it resolved that council support the 2024 Trunk or Treat event by giving permission for use of Tweed Memorial Park and facilities, as well as a fire truck exhibit. All in favor? Ta-da. Thank you.
Thank you very much for everything.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. And then we have our next delegation, and this is Jamie Brewer from Brewer Home.
It does happen from time to time.
I was gonna say that's not a good way to start. Good evening.
How are you?
Well, Deputy Mayor, I'll just wait on.
Sorry, just wanted to get it.
I thought you must have thought my presentation was gonna be bad. You just left, so.
So welcome. Just let me say a couple of introductory remarks, if I may. I don't know how we got wind of this, but Deputy Mayor Demarche and I attended an invitation, I guess it would be, to see your facility, your model homes, I would say.
Good.
And so we went down and we were most impressed. And I'm sorry, is it Jason?
Yeah.
Okay. Jason did a wonderful presentation, provided us with some great packages. And we at that point said we would love to have you come up and talk to council to share what you're doing and how you're doing it and how it works and the difference that it makes. And also I want to thank you for bringing my cell phone back.
No worries.
I had no idea where it was.
So that was his cell phone.
Oh, okay. So anyway, I'm turning it over to you, Jamie.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor, Mayor, council members, support staff. Anyhow, so you actually had a chance to visit the models. A little background on my company. I've owned and developed Brower Homes for the last 34 years. I own it all right, 100% outright. We build custom homes, subdivisions. We do all of our own infrastructure. And we're quite blessed that we're usually booked 2 years in advance. In our subdivisions, for an example, the entry level homes are around 600, 625. And during COVID, it was really getting more and more obvious. There was a lot of people, even though we were sold out, there were a lot of people that just couldn't get the deposit, couldn't make that leap to get their own home. And I'm blessed with a great staff and great trades. I have about 200 people in the trades and in the company. And I said, because we have that buying power and this ability to, you know, we do our own engineering, our own designs, and I've got a background in all of that. I said, we should really try to build something that's still very comfortable, very livable, also expandable, so that it's not just one thing. It can be, you can start out at a smaller version and then add on later. So I literally reverse engineered everything to see, you know, good living space, comfortable rooms. I build, frankly, everything to fit my size. So when you were there, you gentlemen probably noticed that the ceilings were almost 9 foot high and the bathroom had a big 60-inch shower and such, but it's in a small footprint. And so that one that you saw was the studio. So the studio, if you want to add a bedroom at a later date, if you know, if you have a little bit extra money, then you can have it added on, and you can add on a second bedroom. So I was just trying to get a product to the market that offers frankly a little dignity, that it's a well-built, scaled down version of my custom homes, but something that you can be quite proud of. I sell them with, they're all finished on the metal, with metal on the exterior, commercial metal roof. They're, built inside with my same cabinetry and flooring and trims that I use in all my custom homes. And then we supply a little deck so you can have a place to sit. And also it's important to me that they have little grow boxes so people can grow vegetables and learn that part of it. Because there's a lot of people, frankly, that have never grown anything. I come from a farming background, and I grow, even though we have hundreds of acres, we grow all our family vegetables, or a lot of them, in garden boxes to prove the point that you don't need a lot of space to grow quite a bit of vegetables. So that's how I started the whole thing. And I'm not very patient. I'm German Italian, so you can imagine how the patience doesn't run there. So I just essentially reverse engineered everything, knew our building code, had the engineering on staff, and I just built the 2 models, right? And we developed and engineered a bunch of other models. And so what I did after that, I essentially approached a few municipalities where I built subdivisions and, products over the years, so I can get in to see the mayor and see the planning department, because they've worked with me. And I said, this is what I'm doing. And I want you at least just to look at it. And I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for your help. But what I'm asking for is that you don't get in my way when I have people that want to buy these and use them for multiple purposes, like ADU or a long-term or short-term rental. I just was trying to inform everybody. So we've done that and talked to a lot of municipalities where I've worked and had good successes and such, from the Muskokas and Peterborough and Kingston. Funny enough, Belleville's the least receptive, even though that's where the manufacturing facility is set up. But in Belleville, we have almost 200 properties to build on, so they probably think I got enough to worry about. Anyhow, so what's happened for other municipalities like Peterborough and Kingston, we're about to go to ground, because I said to them, essentially, because I have a planning background, I know you have, surplus land or tax land or brownfields or sometimes greenfields or infill. I said, so, if we want to help, sell affordable housing, I'm not making a lot on these things, and I'm, using all of my buying power to buy and build, affordable units that people can be comfortable in. And I said, what I'm asking for from the municipalities to consider is if they have surplus property that we could, zero price them, no development charges, and we would do the engineering and the building, and then that they could sell them or use them for rental units. And the response from Peterborough's been off the chart, and the same with Kingston. The mayor from Kingston essentially made an announcement last spring, I believe, that they found a property and that they were teaming up with us to go ahead and do a project. I got notice this afternoon that we're probably 2 weeks away from going to ground, which is good. But it evolved. It started out with essentially ADUs or pods, single bedroom pods. The one that you gentlemen are in was just the studio, but we have a unit that actually comes with the bedroom bolted on. So they asked me to create sort of a mixed use property. So it turned out that the 2 acres turned into 10 lots, but we're going to do because of our company does these already, we're going to do triplexes, so 10 triplexes and then 10 ADUs. And they already have someone that wants to purchase the entire project for staff. So they have a manufacturing facility. They are short. They can't find any, like they're actually having people sleep in their plant sometimes. So this is a great opportunity for them to have the staff live in something. They don't have to, farm them out. It's close to their manufacturing facility. And also part of it becomes rental to the public. So it's a nice mix. So they have a piece of property sitting there. We've done the engineering, site plan, provided all the pricing and all the parts and pieces. And now we have a fairly large company willing to buy the whole thing now from us. So, but it's going to help affordable housing on one part. It'll also return some investment for the city based on tax, more taxes come in, and it also solves the problem for the manufacturing company itself. So we do, obviously, like subdivision homes, and regular homes, but we do triplexes, duplexes, and then we do these pods. And some of the pods we've developed, I've created essentially a matrix where the studio is the first part, but you can add on different bedrooms and different configurations. I even designed some for Newmarket for the mayor there, which come in two pieces, so we can lift them over the house into the backyard because they're desperately short of accommodation, but also the price point's nice. I mean, we manufacture them in Belleville. We ship them to the location. They're set up on foundations. There's 3 different types: helical piles or sonotubes or a slab on grade. And the one that comes in 2 pieces essentially can be lifted over the house into the backyard. So you're not really bothering anything or anybody or push, like there's only 12 feet in between the houses at the best case with the fences. So it was a way to essentially solve the problem of having a manufactured home delivered, installed, and in 5 days from the time we start there, you can start living inside them because they come fully furnished, or not furnished, fully finished. And the way we've done the servicing, it's usually connected to the other servicing at your house, which makes it quite simple. There are a lot of people that want them for country lots or like rural properties. And essentially there's a little bit of, engineering that has to be done to make sure that the tile bed's big enough for that one extra bathroom. And usually the power, you can just do a pony panel from the existing services. So in our area, in Prince Edward County and the Kingston area, we're getting a lot of demand for that, for those sort of units for, mom and dad retiring, they don't want to live inside the kid's house with them or vice versa. So they would live in one of these. Excuse me. But anyhow, so it makes it a nice, easy product. We manufacture it, comes with a full warranty. We've got a good reputation of building and creating good value. And it can solve a little bit of the affordable housing issues that we're into. So, and because we can mix and match for bigger projects, it makes it much more palatable. So we did the financials for Kingston as well, where we said, okay, here's your costs, here's our costs, here's what we need to sell them for. But also on the other side, when we found someone that was interested, we showed to them how they can get a return on their investment. So we did all of that with our banks in-house as well. So it's pretty much a turnkey, complete product and project.
Gloria, do you have the presentation? Can you pull up a picture of one of the units so people can see it?
I brought also extra brochures. I wasn't sure what you guys actually had, so we can distribute those afterwards if you like.
Sure. I would just like it this way the public can see it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah. It's really quite beautiful. And they looked, right, Jamie? They were really well done on the inside.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I make the joke that everything has my name on it, and these literally do. But when I walk in, I want to be proud of them and I want people to enjoy them. And, I make them so they're tough and strong, like they're all spray foamed all underneath the walls, the ceiling.
That's good.
They're very, very strong. They're not meant to just be temporary. They're meant to last a long time. So, yeah, the one at the top is the studio that you guys are in. So nice, has a full bathroom with a 60-inch shower, vanity, sink, storage. Outside of that, there's a nice laundry, washer, dryer, stackable. In the kitchen, like it's got everything that a regular kitchen would have. Good little working space as well. And then more storage as you enter. And then you can have more storage in the corner, or you can actually add on the bedroom itself, like the one that's shown in the middle, the 1-bedroom suite. So that actually has a bedroom that's already attached. You can close it off, you can use it, but it makes it quite livable, right? Nice, comfortable space. When you gentlemen were there, did you feel
Oh,
comfortable in
totally.
space?
Okay, what are those prices there, Gloria, for the top one and the second one now? Just so,
So the studio is your supplied and installed price, essentially, delivered, supplied and installed.
and how much is that?
140. Yeah.
Isn't that wild? And what's the other one?
The one single bedroom is 170.
It's amazing when you think of what it costs for housing.
Well, I can do this because like Brower Homes Company, though I own it, but we buy a lot of stuff. So when I'm buying kitchens for this place, If I only bought one, or if I was building in your backyard, it would cost a lot more than that, probably about $50,000, easily more. But because we buy 10 kitchens or 20 kitchens at a time, and same with our HVAC suppliers and our plumbing, we take them from our, part of the agreement with a lot of my staff and trades now. They work in our subdivisions and our custom homes, but they also have, say we have 10 at a time, they come down, they frame 10 at a time. So I have all of that sort of power to have the trades available. And I made them so they're liftable and easily to move around for them. I mean, not easy like, you know, a dishwasher, but easy enough that it's reasonable to move. So they can be picked up, moved, and get out of town within hours. So we've solved a lot of engineering issues. They're very rigid, very strong, easy to transport. So yeah, so it's a good round product.
So
But I'm so happy. I didn't actually know you guys visit.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm so, that makes it so much better, because it's
Yeah.
not like, you know, talking from a picture is
Yeah.
one thing, but that makes it so much.
No, we were both very impressed. That's why we wanted you to come up and
I
share.
did remember the phone, that someone, there was at a meeting and someone got their phone. Okay, now I know. Sorry.
The other thing is that like, it's great for a granny flat and an existing property as well.
All of those
Like, I
things.
mean, like, you
Yeah,
know,
and-
just looking at opening up as many places for people to live as we possibly can. I think it's great.
Well, we have clients now, and in Kingston, because if you go to their site, we're their ADU go-to person. Kingston was really good because I worked closely with their building department, and the little tweaks that they needed me to solve and answer and whatever, we did that. But now they actually identify these so that they can have them for their primary residence, the single bedroom, and they also know that you can add on an additional bedroom. So, you know, you're under 300 grand for a, you know, a 2 or 3 bedroom unit. Find some inexpensive property that you haven't seen those prices for a long time. And again, knowing that you guys have seen them firsthand, you know what they feel like, you know what they look like, how they're built. There's nothing cheap about them, so.
It's great. I'm a deputy mayor.
Hey, Jamie.
I think, this council's been really aggressive on affordability. We've did a lot to reduce the required size of our primary residence, so this would
Right.
fit right in our purview. And the one thing I think the mayor will tell you that I found interesting was the garage pod that you could add.
Yeah,
So that was an
Yeah.
interesting concept, you know,
Yeah.
where basically you could, on one side of it, you could add a pod that's a garage, and
yeah.
the versatility of the whole thing.
And also we have a gear pod, just because sometimes people need to be organized a little better, so we kind of did it's only 96 square feet, but it comes with a racking and boxes and how we suggest you organize things. So we offer up a lot of different solutions. But there are a crazy amount of different applications for them. I have some people that don't want any, rooms. They want to just use it for their yoga studio. Other people that just essentially, their mom's moving back from overseas and she doesn't want to be by herself in a big place. And they don't want to put it in a home. So they're putting this in their backyard. Kids need a place to move into to get started, and finances wise, because we have a fair amount of leverage with the banks, they actually will finance these things, right? So,
That's the other thing.
and then the other thing, so when I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but we buy a lot of stuff from a lot of different places. Even Mitsubishi came in, I said, I need a car. Yeah, no, I ordered one for myself. Everybody's laughing about it because, I'm not exactly a delicate flower. I'm a big guy. So then I said, I'm gonna show you that this comfortable. So this Mitsubishi Avalanche, I think it's called. I said I need it under 20 grand and I need great payment plans. So, and I want you to roll them in, and I will sell them if people need with my pods as one package. So they actually are, so we're actually putting that little package together because some people want them in the country, but they still need to get to work.
Yeah, yes.
And then the other stuff that we sent you, I believe, and I'm not going to go through all of that, but we were trying to find a solution to people that, that don't have great paying jobs. Like if you're at Tim Hortons or McDonald's, or you're by yourself, you're a nurse. There's so many scenarios where people are just up against the wall. So using our bankers and brokers, we did the financial analysis based on $20 an hour, or what's the lowest, 18 or something, or minimum wage, right?
Yeah, there's minimum.
Yeah, so we actually created scenarios that come with a whole plan, including groceries and cell phone and internet and savings accounts, because that's important. Teach people how to save a bit of money. and a new car if they need it. And it was surprising how many people could afford these, right? So it's quite a passion of mine. Like my housing company keeps me more than busy enough, but this is something that I think, when you can help or can do, you should do, right? So this is one of those scenarios where, I'm putting a lot of energy behind it, but, and a lot of people are getting on board. We're getting our first projects. We get a tremendous amount of interest. And every municipality is a little different. I have to usually go and have a talk, but what they do like is that they're engineered, they come with stamps, they're way above Ontario Building Code standards. So it makes I've done all the heavy lifting, right? And that makes it nice to sort of transition from, oh, it's from paper, but here's all the engineering that's already done. And we've done them so that we can put them far up north, which is nice. So they're the HVAC systems, insulation and cooling and heating is for zone 2, which is Thunder Bay and above. So they can go anywhere and be well received.
Do you guys have any questions? Your package is online with our council package,
Okay.
okay? So we hope people will go to that. I just wanted our team to be aware of what you're doing so that if
Well,
we
thank you.
see opportunities, that we can reach out.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm gonna leave some packages behind
Okay.
also, if that's okay with everybody.
please, yes, but all by all means.
And if you have any questions, you can email me or.
And if you
call.
get a chance, I would recommend you go down and take a look at the models. I mean, make
They
a call
really
and-
do, like, they feel, like, when I just wanna go and see something nice, a lot of times they'll find me reading a book in my own pods, right? My wife will call, where are you hiding? I said, well, my pod, but, yeah, they're built well, they feel nice, and I'm really proud of them.
And would they just contact you, Jason, if they wanted to come see it?
Me or they can contact me.
Okay, just to get a little tour of the two.
Be happy to show everybody.
One of the best things though is that,
Could you come up to the mic?
one of the best things is that you always have a place to start. So even with the studio with 2 people on minimum wage, you could start there, and then as let's say you grow, right, or you get a higher paying job, etc., you can add on a room. Right, or if you need another room or a bathroom, etc. So you don't have to stretch yourself, right? And as a young person going in, when I start looking at the housing market, it's like, well, I don't want to overstretch myself. I gotta work 2 full-time jobs to try to get there, or I need somebody else to back me. So what's nice about these is that I can do it. And I don't have to stretch myself, and it's not like I need somebody else to back up. So I think that's me personally, that's what I truly love about it, and they're built solid. They're built to last. It's not like I'm looking at something that's vinyl. It's not like it's not cheap or anything like that. It's fantastic. So if you get the chance, you should come.
Okay, well, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
And hopefully you're gonna hear from us or people within our community.
It might not be right away, but
Nope.
it's something, at least we planted the seed that
That's
what
right.
we're doing, it's out there, and we'd love to have anybody or all of you come down at one time. Last week, we had a group of 20 people show up for another municipality. It was hilarious. They said they were gonna send down 2 people
Oh, okay.
and the whole parking lot filled. It was quite lovely, so, but I thank everybody for their time.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'll have to go first.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, yes. Now we'll welcome our third delegation, Val Diesel of Force Ontario. We met with Val, a month ago, 6 weeks ago? Yeah. And we had a great presentation from her in regards to basically municipal forestry plans and development, neighborhood plans and stuff. So anyway, we asked her to come in. It was Rochelle and me, and was Kate, was the other person there? Yeah. And we thought it would be nice for her to come and make a presentation to us about who she is, who she represents, and some of their exciting initiatives. So I'm turning it over to you, Val. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome. Thank you, Mayor, Council, and other staff. Do I have a clicker for?
No.
Oh, okay.
You'll just have to tell me.
Okay. So I just wanted to introduce myself. As Mayor Don had said, my name is Val Daziel. I'm the Director of Restoration Programs for Forest Ontario. And I wanted to share with you the organization that I work for, what we represent, and if there's an opportunity to work with the community. Next, please. So our vision is to increase forest cover throughout, it's actually throughout all of Canada. We've worked for the past 20 years in primarily Ontario, but we have much more than tree planting. We also have restoration in forms of grasslands and training networks for many of our planting delivery agents that we work with throughout the communities. We have community engagement events and even education programs where we provide forestry educations to young folks just entering colleges or universities to give those younger kids a chance to understand the importance of forestry. Next, please. Restoration is my passion. I'm going to say that I'm a restoration ecologist. I've spent my entire career in education and restoration ecology. And restoration is a little bit different than tree planting in a sense that it's more of a holistic look at the landscape and making a judgment based on several things that needs to happen. What was there historically? What was there before? What is the surrounding area? And how best to make that landscape suitable and with integrity for long lasting, to be more resilient to some of the ongoing changes with the climate that we're witnessing, including the major storms that happened in your community, which was what brought me to the area to start having these conversations to see how we could possibly work together. So we have a huge network across Ontario and Canada where we provide training for our planting delivery agents on how to get the best projects achieved on the landscape. As a matter of fact, next week we have a site plan development course for anybody who would like to join within our network, where we actually show people how to develop good planting plans, how to do site prep, how to tend these trees, and to look at the future and the survivability of these trees. So we do a lot more than just put trees in the ground and walk away. Next, please. And of course, we have many community events, including the Reconciliation Tree Planting event, the Tree Bee, and a seed diversity program, which we do all throughout the province, including seed diversity program where we help municipalities collect their own seed, grow the stock for them, and then get the planting done within the community. We have a huge annual conference that comes up in February. I'll be happy to share that with you as we get closer to. If you wanted to join us for that, that would be absolutely wonderful. Next, please. So a little bit about the forest education. I don't know if you folks have ever heard of Envirothon. It's quite a large program that's been happening for about 15 years in Ontario, where there's a competition from all across Canada and even in the US, where it's kind of like a big science fair where kids present their projects and they're judged. It's a great experience for those kids.
So that's something that your organization champions?
Yes, Envirothon. Next, please. We hear a lot in the news about nature-based solutions. So, I just wanted to bring to your attention a little bit about that, and about the co-benefits of forests that may get overlooked, and what these essential services forests provide for communities. Of course, improving air and water quality, preventing flooding and soil erosion. I should say mitigate. It doesn't quite prevent. Nothing can prevent much these days, I don't think. Recreational activities, improving physical and mental health, and help to create and support jobs. So also part of our mandate is we talk about the realities of forestry, and that these are renewable resources that managed properly it's no problem to harvest these trees to support jobs and the infrastructure of our communities. Next, please. So I'm sure you've heard of the Cato, the 30 by 30 mandate that the world and the government has talked about. Well, they're determining that a target of 40% tree cover is acceptable in communities. And currently Ontario is sitting at an average of 26% tree cover. In some regions, particularly southwestern Ontario, it's as low as 5%. It's really quite shocking. Next, please. So it isn't as simple as planting trees. We have to ensure that we get the right tree in the right place for maximum survival. And it's a very complex infrastructure. Next,
I'm just
please.
gonna talk about that point. As you are well aware, we had the emerald ash borer in our park. And look at, when you plant so much of the same species, you are very vulnerable if something starts to go through and attack a particular tree type. And so we've had to cut down, how many, Rochelle? 55?
Yes. No,
70.
77.
Big, huge trees,
Yeah,
lovely trees.
it's a shame,
You
isn't
know.
it?
So that's why diversity is important.
It does depend on the objective as well. If a project is deemed for timber production,
Yeah,
for
sure.
example. But yes, absolutely. On small residential properties, even in farms, yes, diversity, it's great. There's a lot more to that story, but next, please. So I just wanted to share with you the importance of our model. So not only do we plant trees, we collect the seed. We record where that seed came from, the stock where it was grown, and where it is put on the landscape. So we record everything from seed to tree. So we are not a landscaping organization. We are very much an afforestation, restoration. We do windrows and riparian plantings as well. We're quite different from a landscape type agency. We have to, that's part of our mandate, is we know where the seed is collected, where it's grown, and where it's put on the landscape. It's much more detailed than that. So with that comes a few restrictions on what we can do in terms of, we have to know where the tree is planted. We have to have records of all that, and we go out and do survival assessments at year 2 and year 5. If a planting project drops below 60% survival, then we can put in a request for refill, and those trees, subsequent trees that have been lost, would get replanted. Next, please. So our seed collection, we actually pay seed collectors. It's we need more seed collectors. They're aging out at a tremendous rate. Young folk just don't seem to be volunteering to collect seed as much as we hope. However, we work with the Forestry and Conservation to help get more seed collectors out on the landscape. So it's high quality and source identified, genetically diverse. We do all the processing, testing, and storage, a long-term supply, and have this network of seed collectors. You wouldn't believe how many millions and millions of seed we have. Millions. Next, please. And it's all based on seed zones. So this is all very scientific, that we maintain, where the seed is collected and to where it's planted. Next, please. And then along with that, we work with our nursery partners. We have very specific nursery partners that we work with. It's not just anyone. Because of this long-term commitment of getting the seed and the stock and having these records. It's not just any nursery. However, we do take on new nurseries as long as they're willing to be able to capture that valuable information that we require. So it's a long-term process. The seed we collect this year, we won't see a tree for 2 to 3 years before it can get out on the landscape. Next, please. And then our network of planting partners, many of them conservation authorities, private contractors, and the like. And we work together to train and help these organizations succeed in the work across the country and mostly in Ontario. By the way, we have planted 46.5 million trees in Ontario in the last 20 years. So we work directly with the landowners to provide full tree planting service within our planting partners. So, you know, there's a site inspection done, there's a planting plan created, goes into our database. The site is prepped and the trees are purchased and then they go ahead and plant that. Next, please. And we provide long-term funding support for our partners to be able to create these increased forest cover. And we're always looking for opportunities to enhance capacity within our network. Next, please.
Do you require a certain acreage to make it worthwhile for someone to become involved, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's minimum 500 trees and a half an acre.
Half an acre?
Yes. So that's the, you know, the big step between us and a landscape type situation. So we have a minimum of 500 trees on a half an acre. However, some of our planting partners, they won't plant anything less than 2 hectares. However, we can work around that if that's necessary. So the availability of the land in Ontario is staggering, not so much in this area, but you know, there is a lot of 1.2 million hectares of pasture and or abandoned fields is available for planting. Can, you know, take on 2 billion trees in some circumstances. Hence the 2 billion tree program, which we are funded by the federal government for the 2 billion tree program. Next, please.
How successful has that program been so far?
It's been, well, on our standpoint, I don't know about their other partners but for our standpoint, we've met our targets.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, we do a lot of work with our communications and going out and reaching out to communities. Then we worked with the Nature Conservancy of Canada, you know, just looking at the overall land availability. This isn't really that crucial for you guys, but it's very interesting because we do look at, when we talk about land that's available, we're talking class 4 to 7 agricultural land. We're not in the business of taking land out of production. And it's also very important, we track, you know, how many kilometers of riparian have we planted? How many corridors have we connected? How big of forest blocks have we created? As far as ecology goes, the magic number is a 200 hectare block. That's a big enough size forest to support a lot of the interior forest species that are out there. Next, please. So, you know, we determine priority areas and create a strategic approach and identify the fragmented ecosystems. And a lot of the municipalities, as you know, have natural heritage systems online. We work with those. And of course, look at ecologically sensitive areas that need to be protected, like provincially significant wetlands and areas of natural and scientific interest, things like that. Next, please. So our projects, I touched on them a little bit. They include afforestation, which is, you know, planting on land that hasn't had trees for many, many years. Riparian planting next to edges of water bodies. Windbreaks, that's very good for the agricultural community, but it's very good for rural homes too, providing that shelter from damaging winds or crops from damaging winds. And of course, restoration, which, you know, would be more like the Emerald Ash Borer example, or I'm going to try and say this right, derecho storm and hurricane type damage. So that's really looking at where forests have been damaged from insects, pests, disease, and climate. Next, please. Here's an example of what happens in the planting process, a spring planting. what the trees look like at 3 years. And we're talking, we plant seedlings, so we're not talking big, huge caliper trees. That's pretty hard to handle. So you can just see, in 15 years, it doesn't really take that long to start getting some recovery. It's really quite amazing. Next, please. And then after that, you know, we have provided the landowners with what we call a landowner guide. It's a new publication that we've just created, letting folks understand what they're signing up for in terms of the long term. Because yes, they are plantations, however, through proper management, you end up with very diverse and robust forests. The afforestation will bring trees to recover much, much faster, 50 to 100 years faster than leaving a fallow field without any trees in it at all. So this slide shows, you know, at 30 years that forest had its first thinning, 45 second thinning, and 87 is a beautiful 87-year-old white pine plantation that's fully diverse and high functioning. Next, please. And an aerial shot looks kind of funny, eh? Those little green dots, but it doesn't really take that long. Next, please. And there's the mature forest.
So that was the same area we just looked at.
Yeah.
Wow. How old would that be? That forest?
Probably about 40.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next, please. So we did a completed a peer review paper looking at our work over the last 20 years. And for the trees that we've put out on the landscape, we have a record of 83% survival rate. So it goes back to, you know, the proper training, the proper network, the good stock, the follow-up with the landowners on the survival and the refill. So we're pretty proud of that work. Next, please. So what's needed, right? Long-term funding commitments from all levels of government. We need more well-rounded partnerships, corporate and foundational support, donations, and individuals. So keep in mind, Forest Ontario is a not-for-profit organization. We rely on donations. Next, please. And enhancing capacity for tree planting. Like I said, we're always looking to enhance capacity. If anybody wants to go collect seed with me, please let me know. I'd love to do that. Increasing our stock, landowner engagement, always keeping up on technical expertise, monitoring and adapting for climate change. Next, please. So some of the people that we collaborate with, Forest Gene Conservation Association, conservation authorities, stewardship groups, First Nations, the forest industry, municipality, forest consultants, and nurseries. So we need to ensure we're doing it right in order to achieve good projects.
Val, when you were here last, did we have brochures that we had up front?
Yeah, I think so. I brought some more with me, but
Okay, because I think this, like, as I was saying to Brewer Homes, this is part of our package and it will be online.
Okay.
Online. But it would be nice to know people like, you know, the following, or people start talking about it, that there are as a pamphlet or something they can pick up that says how to get in touch with you, for example, or,
sure.
okay,
Yeah, I brought some with me.
okay, that's wonderful. Anybody have any questions? Yes, please go ahead, Peter. I mean, Councilor Valley.
So real quickly, and this is just more of curiosity than anything else. Years ago, M&R used to do seed harvesting. Is the M&R involved? And I don't see them listed anywhere here. And I'm just curious if the provincial government is involved in your initiatives, which sound wonderful.
They used to be. There was a massive provincial seed plant in Angus that was closed down. Geez, I think it was 2019. Don't quote me on the date, folks, please. But the provincial government decided to stop all aspects of that, and tree planting support, seed support. So Forest Ontario then picked it up and took on that on behalf of the province. Yeah,
Sorry to hear that.
yeah, it is too bad.
Any other questions? Yes, please go, Council Philip.
Might be an unfair question, but you're in the business of planting trees
Yes,
and we know the benefit of trees. Would you say burying carbon in the ground is a better advantage than planting trees? And you don't have to answer it if you don't. I just don't understand why they're doing that.
well, it's both. There is just as much at some time, at some point of the tree's life, there is just as much or more carbon being sequestered into the soil than it is of the above ground biomass. Takes about 15 years before it starts really accumulating above ground for carbon sequestration. But it's really about the soil.
Yeah, so the natural way, I always thought was the best way. Anyway, another question is,
I think Council Philip was getting at these initiatives to take carbon out of the air, nothing to do with forestation and putting it in the ground. The
Yeah.
money being spent on those initiatives. Would
Hmm.
we be further ahead on
Understood.
trees and allow it to happen naturally?
so this is what they're working on now instead of planting trees. They
Oh,
stopped the 50 million, tree plantation. I know a fellow that worked and he was quite upset. Worked with the M&R doing that and they just stopped it. But anyway, another question. Do you think we'll ever get the, ash trees back?
Interesting.
Oh, well, we work very closely with the Forest Gene Conservation and the National Tree Seed Center. So there's two huge organizations that do all the science and working on the recovery. So there is hope of some trees that seem to be resilient. But it's years away. There's special orchards being created, lots of
Yeah.
science being made, to see if they can make a more resilient strain of ash tree to this insect. But we can't plant them yet.
Okay, and one more, if you don't mind.
No, please.
Okay, and I also heard that the hemlock is endangered now too.
Yes, that's right.
So are
Is that-
we,
Is that the little white caterpillar? I had them all over this year.
Yeah,
so are we gonna lose them too?
oh, I don't want to say we're going to 100% lose them, but we have a crisis.
Tear it down, Jim.
I'll tell you though, it's just one thing.
You know,
Other.
But we have a crisis, but we also have really smart people working on these crises and doing our best to mitigate as best we can.
Yeah.
But we are at a crisis for sure.
Any other questions? Can we end on a happy note?
Yes, so what I wanted to say was, I want to thank you for allowing me to talk about the organization that I work for. And if there's an opportunity to work with the community on how we can do some recovery type planting within your community, please let me know. I'm available to do that. We can do it together as a community, or we can go the old traditional way we always do and just reach out to the landowners ourselves. So I just wanted to say thanks, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much. No more questions. You can thank her though.
Okay, I would thank her, and I would appreciate it also if you would share your training processes with the students if we could.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, your
If you could
education,
let us
oh, yes.
know- If you
Yes.
let us know when you have like you said, something in February.
our
Big conference.
Our big conference, yes, that's in Toronto this year. So yeah, I will send you that information, and I can send you about the information about the Envirothon as well.
Okay, good, thank you.
And do you have any other training program, like, or education programs for students? Like other than the Envirothon?
Yes, there are some other training. It's not my realm, but there is some other, and I
Could you send me information on that? I'd like to reach out to our schools here.
Sure,
Okay.
sure, absolutely.
Okay.
I will do that.
Well, thank you very much, Val.
Thank you.
Absolutely amazing, wonderful, great work you're doing. Good luck to you, and I hope we can find some way of working together in the future.
Great. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening.
Okay, moving on. Just want to close this presentation. Okay, moving on to departmental reports. Could I have a move and a seconder to table the administration department update as of September 17th, 2024, please? September 17th or? Okay.
It's the day that the report was
Produced.
generated.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Marston. Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Any questions on that report? Yes, please go ahead.
Mayor to CAO, I see where I'm aware of this funding application for a number of projects. Any idea when we will hear back from that?
If you're referring to the three bridges and Flinton Road, that application we're in the process of, and about an hour before the council meeting started, the province just sent me an email saying that they've changed the form and I now have to recopy everything into this new form as they had to do an update to their template. So it hasn't been submitted yet as
Have
that
they allowed an extension on the timeline as a result of that?
they haven't mentioned that in the email, no. It's one that is open until October. About halfway through October. I'd have to look up the exact date. We were hoping to have it finished and ready to probably be able to submit mid next week. But being that it won't close until mid-October, you're not likely going to hear anything until January or February. This is the traditional length of time. Unfortunately, it is a long period before we ever hear when an application is successful or not successful. The other one where we'll be resubmitting for the water and wastewater over on the George Street area. That one is going to get redone as well. That one is open until I think it was October 25th. So it's going to have a very similar type timeline as well that we won't know probably till January or February if we have any success in those applications.
I think county, are you okay if I?
Yeah.
I think county was going to provide an information session on the Housing Enabling Water Fund to help people figure out where they went wrong. They were reaching out to the province because nobody in this area got it, including Belleville and everybody. So are you aware of that?
I haven't been made aware of that one. However, I do have 4 different webinars scheduled with the province on these 2 applications, 2 each in the next week and a half. So I will try to squeeze in some with the county as well, but I'll reach out to them in regards to that.
When these applications they're done online, I assume, and then they're submitted, like it's an electronic form?
It's an electronic form. They create a specialized PDF that has special features within it. You cannot alter it in any way. You can only enter where they let you enter, and you have to upload it with any of your attachments in a separate section.
So can you then, once that's all done, create one big PDF that you now have for yourself?
It won't ever be they don't create one PDF, but we would have copies of all the things that we have attached into it, as well as the application as one
And
PDF.
how many pages do we typically look at, say, for both of these projects? Just roughly.
The application only, or all
And
of the attachments?
yeah.
Well, for the one that we did for the water and sewer with all the attachments, we were looking at about 300 pages.
Okay, and then this other one?
This other one, probably anywhere from 150 to 250, depending on some of the attachment needs.
The difficulty with all of this. This takes an awful lot of work to pull this information together. And large urban centers have staff that are dedicated just to doing these things. We are stretching our staff because they have to wear many hats when you're in a small rural community. What I want done though is, and I know it's going to be a pain in the air, but I want a copy of the package sent to Rick Bressie when they're both of them, okay, to Rick. I'm also want a copy of these packages. I'm going to want, so if you can create a PDF, I know it's probably going to be big, but like, you know, if there's some way we can create a PDF of it, because I want to send it to Shelby Grant Nyman, and I also want to send it to Minister Fraser, and to show them that this is what we're doing and how desperate we are in need of assistance. Okay. Yes, please go ahead, Councillor Valiquette.
In that vein, I think that's a great idea, but would it be possible maybe to create, and I hate putting more work on anybody, but like an executive summary, something that we can put on our web page that kind of breaks down where the bridges are, what the problems are, maybe some sort of map geographically that just helps people understand.
This is more for us in the community.
Community,
Yes.
yeah.
And there are required maps that we have to actually submit of this, identifying the areas where growth is restricted without
Yeah.
these projects. Which for us, it's a much larger area than maybe our last one where with just water and sewer when we're talking the bridges, because really any land in that area really should be reconsidered if anybody wants to ask for a severance, because if we already have servicing concerns, we probably shouldn't increase potential homes in those areas until we deal with these bridges. So we have very large areas that are impacted for potential growth, and we do have to submit maps for that. So some of that will already be in the packaging, but yes.
And well, the executive summary too would be a good thing to send to the opposition parties, to other people as well, because it's not to deal with the huge applicant, but it makes them aware that this is coming down. Yes, Councillor Flair.
Your worship, I don't understand why we would need 300 pages. So I would think, like there's a lot of intelligent people in this province and in the whole of Canada, maybe the whole of North America, but we need houses. Why do we need so many pages of paper? We need bridges. Why do we need so many pages of paper? You identify the bridge, you tell them what you need, you qualify your ask.
Well, I think what they try to do is it's a way to automatically knock some people out of the process, because a lot of places can't do it. Like, when you think of up in some of our northern municipalities in Hastings County, they just they have the same issues. They can't do it. Like, and that's what they want.
And your worship, I would also say that the time that we have to put in to go through these 300 pages, and then the time that some person else has to put in to go through the same amount of work again. I fixed one of those things in my former career, and it was unreal, the amount of time it saved. So time saved is money saved. If we save time, we save the money, we have more money to work these kind of issues, I would think.
Unfortunately, we have to follow the process they have put in place, but I think it's a good thing. I would like us to tabulate from now on all of the time that we put in filling each of these applications out, okay? So you do a timesheet on this whenever you're working on it, because I'm sure it's insurmountable, and people need to know this is how much time it's taking us to get the funding that we so rightly deserve and need. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you for raising that, Deputy Mayor Marsh. Seeing none, okay. Be it resolved that council received the administration department update as of September 17, 2024, as presented. All in favor, thank you. Public Works Manager. Okay, request to purchase winter materials. Could I have a mover and a seconder to get it on the table, please? Thank you, Councillor Palmetier, and thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Any questions? Yes, please go ahead, Councillor Palmetier.
Through the mayor, to, I believe, the treasurer at this point. Excuse me, we're over budget, and I'm just trying to follow it and see where, we used very little sand last year, sand and salt. So I just wondered where the discrepancy was.
Yeah, so the sand and salt that was used between January and in essence April, when we finally no longer had any more ice in the mornings, had generated the amount 177,000 that we already have. So we spent a good chunk in that portion. Unfortunately, I can't speak to the full operations there. But that's the cost of this, of what was actually used in those 4 months. So yes, we didn't have a full winter where it started in October and went right through to March. But what we did have was all in 2024. If our winter doesn't start until December like last year, then the cost doesn't actually sit in 2024. It will sit in 2025, because it's only an actual expense if we've used it. So December 31st, the Public Works staff always do a quick inventory of how much is in all of our domes. And then we pull that out and it goes into next year because then it's used in the January to March of next year. The calculation here is as long as we have used 41% or less of what our domes have by December 31st, we'll actually be at or below budget. But if we make, because we don't know what winter's going to do yet, if winter starts in October, we likely will have about 50% used. If it starts in October, there's a lot of guessing here.
Yes, Councillor
Your
Flynn.
worship, to the roads manager. I'm quite confused. We have a pit. So these two quotes are supplied in, not gravel from our pits, or what is it?
Through his worship to Councillor Fleeler, that's correct. That's supplied sand and winter screenings from either of the contractors. Yes.
So is there any opportunity that we could do this ourselves out of our own pit?
Through his worship to Councillor again, I believe in my report, my previous report, it kind of set out that it wasn't cost effective for us to go that route. It's more cost effective to go through a supplier and have it brought to us. So we've been looking at that route too. So.
Any other questions? Good discussion. Be it resolved, the council received a request to purchase winter materials and further that council choose option 2 being the quotation received from Danforth Construction at 73,125,000 plus HST. All in favor? Oh, sorry.
Your worship, just before we go to a vote here, Councillor Fleeler might have a point. We might want to look back at our aggregate agreement. Because we don't own the land that pit sits on. We only own the license.
Yeah, so your worship, what I was saying, like, if we have that pit and we don't use it, what?
There's a. Like I said, we might just want to look at the implications of
I'm sorry, I am
not taking
confused.
any
I'm
material.
confused.
Your worship, there's a point that you can't speak, I can't say too much. Without being closed.
Oh, okay.
So just want to make sure that we don't have any kind of agreements or anything that we're not falling in line with by not taking any material out of the pit.
Yes, go ahead.
So I can speak to that in a general nature. The agreements that we do have for our lease for that land is we do have to pay a flat amount every year regardless, and only if we take anything out do we pay an additional amount as basically a royalty for every ton that is pulled out. The agreement does not require a minimum amount per year, just that if we pull any out, we do have to pay.
Okay. With that said, your worship, then we need to make sure we include that flat amount in our pricing because it'll skew whether or not it's actually savings.
Yes, go ahead.
Through his worship to all council, the report I brought to the last meeting with our gravel costing tells us how much it is to run material out of that pit. So I believe just off the top of my head, it's about $6 or $7 a ton just to produce it. That's paying royalty fees, licensing fees, insurance, all those type of things. So before we do anything with that material, it's costing us $7 before we move it out of the pit. Sorry.
Yeah, through the roadship, just saying that like if we're buying it for $6, but we're basically paying for $1 worth from them every year, regardless of whether or not we take it, then we're still at the same place with $7 each. So I just want to make sure that we're including that in our costing if it's money going out anyways. But
Through his worship again, yeah, I hear what you're saying there for sure, but then that's not including all of our time as well. So
the overall cost that you're implying then for us to do is still work out to be more than what this is.
for us to do out of our own pit, it would cost us more.
Okay, Gloria.
I had just quickly pulled up that report from the last meeting, and it does appear that that flat rate was put in there with an assumption that the amount would be coming out of there. And it had come out to $6.67 per ton. But yes, there is a total, I think it works out to, what is it? 3,000 or 3,500 that we have to pay flat every year regardless. But that was built into that calculation that he had provided at the last meeting. I do see license fees separate from the royalty fee.
Okay, over to Ryan and then to Councillor Valiquette.
Through his worship to council as well. This isn't including any of our phase fees when we have to redevelop this, reclaim it, expand it as well. So there's quite a fee on top of that as well. If we could break that down into the tonnage figure as well, it'd be quite substantial.
Councillor Valiquette.
I don't really have much to add, just on top of what Councillor Palmetier was saying, that that our annual fee was incorporated into that somehow. It wasn't forgotten.
Okay, and yes, go ahead.
So
Councillor
your
Cleary.
worship, we only received 2 quotes on this. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So any further questions? Yes, go ahead, Ryan.
Through his worship to Councillor Fleeler, we received more quotes, just it wasn't the material that we could use. It has to meet a certain gradation requirement. So Drain Bros and Danford's have the material we can use. We had other quotes, but we're not able to technically put that on our roads to meet MTO standards. So we couldn't bring it forward.
Okay. Are we okay? Be it resolved that council received the request to purchase winter materials, and further that council choose option 2, being the quotation received from Danforth Construction at 73,125,000 plus HST. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, could I move in a second to the table the request to repair our roads excavator, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Marsh. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Over to you, Ryan.
Through his worship to council, we've had some work done to our excavator recently, and there was it was kind of addressed that we had some hydraulic issues. It seems like there might be some contamination in our hydraulic fluid, and it seems to be plugging it. So we kind of lose a bit of power, gain it back. We're just having a bit of operating issues with it. We had Stronco come out and assess it. They should be able to fix it. So they said they can, and this is kind of what we have to go with. We can't use any other repair shops because they don't have the Volvo book. So you're kind of stuck with them using their software. Otherwise, we have to go buy a license for it and essentially hand it to a mechanic for nothing. So we're stuck using Volvo.
How old is the excavator?
To your worship, I think it's about 20 years old now. Maybe not quite that old. Oh, sorry. No, it's about a 2011, I believe. Sorry.
Okay.
I can double check if you'd like.
No, that's fine. I just need a ballpark. Go ahead. Mayor.
There's a mayor to the treasurer. So if we're gonna have a budget overage if we approve this, is there anywhere else in public works that the money can be transferred to cover that budget overage?
I haven't looked with the recent update for September's costs yet as to where we might end up being. I know with our recent fuel tender, we expect maybe our fuel and diesel costs might be a little lower. But I'm not sure how much space we'll have in that budget. I don't know if you have any ideas of.
Through his worship, we would have enough to put it into the diesel budget if that's what you choose to do. There would be enough.
No, thank you. Just, I was trying to figure out how we could cover that. If there was another line in public works that's not being utilized to full, we can transfer it over to cover that cost. That's all I was asking. Thanks.
And if council would like, you would just need to amend this motion to make that budget amendment so I can actually reflect that, or we just leave it at year end and just know that the two counts together net.
If I may, Mayor.
Please.
I guess what I was just getting at it, if the fuel cost is lower, instead of pumping it into the fuel one, can we not just take that money out of the fuel, put it into that actual line for that machine?
Yes, that's what I was,
Okay.
that's
okay,
what I was
thought
saying
you- I
is,
thought you were tr- putting it in
but
the-
to
it was-
actually amend the budget, I need a motion approved
do
by
so.
council to say that this much of the fuel budget can move to this
Okay.
one. So that's all
Sorry.
I was saying is that it's the same effect. I just need a motion to actually do the budget adjustment.
So can you?
I'll motion that we approve it with the budget adjustment.
And are you okay with seconding that? Jacob?
Through your worship, the deputy mayor, do we need this in order to?
It would help balance that line.
That was where-
Yeah, I'm just concerned. We do get a crazy winter and we
Mhm.
need lots of diesel fuel to run the trucks every day. And we just handle it when we come to the line in budget.
And I kind of thought about that too, but the majority last year of our winter maintenance came after the first of the year, so it throws in the next budget year.
But I think, but
I'm just comfortable
Yeah.
handling it, and we're just kind of have to decide if we want that machine right now. And it costs us money sitting there too. We might as well have it. We have operators, might as well use it when we have time, especially the ditching right now.
I'm of the same mind on this, because, like you say, we don't know what the winter's gonna hold. We don't. And then, and if it works out that it's gonna be a good word by the time we get to the end of the year, well, then we can make some kind of adjustment at that point. When you say that the fluid is contaminated, what happened?
To your worship, it's kind of speculation on my part. I'm not a mechanic by any means, but I think there was some sort of debris or plastic that let go. And it's kind of been jamming up the system.
Okay,
It's kind of floating around in there. I could be wrong. But I know our Strongco dealer that came out said he was able to fix it. So
okay.
he said it was contaminated though.
And is this the same Stronco that the other time when they did agree to do something and then they came back way more money? So they know that they, yeah.
Yeah, but to your point, your worship,
Yeah.
make sure we get updates if anything changes.
That's right, exactly.
Because I don't know if you really dealt with a big project with them yet. Right, like any major fixes with
I've
dealt with them
before, but not.
with us, I mean, yeah, no, just
Because they came in substantially higher than what
the
was.
bill
quoted.
was a lot different than the quote.
Yes, go ahead, Councilor Valley-Cat.
One quick question through the mayor to the manager. What's the life expectancy of that excavator?
Me personally, I think it's in pretty good shape. Sorry, through his worship to Councilor Valicat. It is in our long-term capital planning to be replaced. I believe this year is when it's due for replacement based on its age and condition. But we pushed it off a year, so this year, we'll say.
So we're putting in something that, but do we have the money to replace it? So we don't. So it's an investment to keep it going as long as we possibly can. Okay. Finished discussion? Be it resolved that council receive the request to repair our roads excavator report and further that council authorized repairs to be done now with the quote of $12,819.69 from Stongo or Strongo. All in favor? Thank you. Traffic calming devices. Could I have a move and a second to table the traffic calming and speeding options? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Martian. Thank you, Councillor Fleeler. Over to you, Ryan, and I'm just going to get a glass of water. Excuse me. Does anybody want to start a conversation, or are we okay with the report? Yes, Jim, I think you had something you wanted to share.
I don't know, through his worship to, the roads manager, I know you've done a lot of work here and the thing that I thought of was Belleville has installed these, speed units. I think Deputy, Mayor Jamie DeMarc brought that up a while ago. So I was wondering if we could investigate that kind of a thing to. My opinion is you could put signs up till you look like a sign and it won't make any difference. And we need to curb this thing somehow. But I don't know. If we could put a couple of these units in, I don't know. I don't know what the price is. So my ask is, could we get the company that supplied the city of Belleville with these units to come here and do a presentation?
I actually have the info on those things at home, so I can bring that in.
Okay, we could, sorry, go ahead, Councilor Valiquette.
I believe with the speed devices, what happens is all that goes through the county because the county administers that for all 14 member municipalities. They would be the ones who would have to lead this. And I think they would be the ones who would look after some sort of equitable distribution, because if it's working up in Bancroft and it slows people down through ticketing, that revenue division would be spread equitably amongst the 14 municipalities. And I believe Quinte West and Belleville.
Well, there's a big issue right now with the Belleville because it's generating so much money.
Their thresholds are too low.
They're generating so much money. Go ahead, Councilor Chair.
Your worship, I'm still of the belief that I think it's a little more of a perception issue than a legal, like an actual speeding. It's crazy how 50 kilometers an hour, even when you're driving yourself, can feel so slow if you're on a highway and then you pull into town, and if you go 50, it feels pretty quick. And the same goes for people that are watching traffic if they're like their vicinity to the road and things like that. I just don't know if we need, and personally, if we need to take action without sufficient evidence, like hard evidence. It's just it's very costly, and we really don't hear a lot. We don't hear a lot from the public on these issues. It's just a few instances. So that's just my belief.
And the signs, to me, you see it for first couple of times and all of a sudden you don't see it anymore. That's what my feeling. Just like Deputy Mayor DeMarsh's real estate signs, I just don't see them.
So,
Go ahead.
so your worship, and exactly, like you put up a sign, and I think the statute of limitations would apply here, but when I worked at Tweed Steel, they put a stop sign at Louisa and Jameson. And I was going up town for a coffee, had another guy in the car, and I just looked around the corner. See, there's a stop sign there. I said, no, they're not. Anyway, we come back and we stopped, and I looked and there was a stop sign there. I said, when did they put that there? He said, 2 years ago. So the sign
for 2 years.
So that's why I think the signs won't do the job. And I do stop there at that stop sign now, but anyway.
Occasionally.
And it is, as Councilor Palmetier suggested or said, it's not a suggestion, I think it's a fact, that it is perception. We had a constable look at issues on Downey's Rapids, and he said exactly the same thing. He said it's perception, and he went down there and especially the bigger the truck.
Councilor.
So I think we're kind of looking at a couple different things. One is traffic calming and one is speed enforcement. And from a speed enforcement perspective, I agree 100% with the conversation that's going around the table that perception is what becomes someone's reality, but it's not actually the problem. And the other one is some sort of traffic calming. And I have noted that I've received some conversation from residents about some of the people not stopping or slowing down or following the guidance of the crosswalks in town. And this is the one over by my place, the one in town here, and the one at the other end of 37, and the one up on College Street. So my initial conversation with the manager was about I had seen some signs that you would erect in the road that create some perceived congestion, which makes you slow down to avoid what you think may be something you might collide with. But these are signs that fold over and don't necessarily pose an actual problem. They're just a visual that make people slow down. So that was my intention. And then speaking with the manager, we talked about these signs, these lawn signs for people. And I think he had some different ideas about how that might be good. Again, that's something that may or may not become repetitious, but it's also something that you could put out, you know, on Old Troy Road, or you could put it on, you know, name whatever road you live on. It's not just something that would be at a crosswalk.
Brian?
I also got pricing for this as well. Just, I believe it was yesterday. It doesn't cost us anything to do this program. I believe for the 100 signs we get, it's about $600. They look similar to those CAA signs, and it is just a good visual cue and a good reminder for people as they're going through. Over time, likely, yes, they will, you know, forget about the sign, not look at it. But I think even if it just makes that little bit of a difference here and there, I think it would be a good investment for what we're putting out for it.
Mayor Marsh?
My first thought was this, is if this is what council chooses to do, there may be an opportunity for community development to reach out and say, hey, can you sponsor X amount of signs? And you could have whoever sponsored those signs logos put on there. I mean, that might be a way to make it revenue neutral, is my first thought. So,
Well, the other thing is, I think Rochelle has a lot on her plate to begin with, so I wouldn't want to throw something else at her at this time. But, but anyway, I'll go ahead. Did you?
Your worship, but I would like to entertain this speed sign. If it does make sense, and I don't know if it will, but if it does make sense, it definitely will slow the people down, because if you dole out a ticket, there's no record on your license, I think. I don't know. Anyway, I saw a car and it wasn't perception. I would say he was doing 75 mile an hour going around the corner at the park. And he was going so fast, I didn't even see what kind of a car it was. All I saw was it was black. But anyway, if we could get some actual numbers somehow, and Bell will have them, so I don't know. The company, the supplier, if we could get them down here to talk to us and tell us what it would cost us to get a couple.
Well, we can always have somebody come in and talk to us as a
And that would
delegation.
save-
I can give the information to admin. The fellow I talked to, I think it was at Good Roads, they supply them, they administer them, and they take basically half, and the other half is administered to Hastings County, where Councilor Bellicat's talking. So the way they talked, there was no cost to the township whatsoever. Now, they did request that they have that conversation, because there's a threshold. I mean, we all know if we're doing on the highway, the speed limit's 80, the OPP won't pull you over for doing 82. So, I mean, to have that conversation with the OPP about thresholds, because what you don't want to be is a nuisance. You want to do enforcement, but not be a nuisance, right? So.
Yeah, so anyway, not to belabor this thing, but I heard that if there's a 10 click grace period. If you're doing 11, you pay for the 11.
Out in Belleville. We're
No,
over.
their threshold's too.
Yeah, 45. Okay, the point is like, okay, we keep throwing things at our staff.
Okay.
Okay, so. Like, you know, we gotta be conscious of it. We just talked about these enormous. Applications that they're spending a lot of time on. We keep looking back at the task list, which things aren't finished, but every time we meet, we always have something huge that we're looking at.
That's why we meet.
That's right.
So, sorry.
Go ahead.
So your worship, could one of us get the information,
Well,
send get the information from the supplier, get the supplier in here? Could one of us do that and save all that work?
Your worship, I don't know if it's worth investigating without evidence
no
at this
fee,
point.
yeah.
It just takes everyone's time, including everyone sitting here at an evening meeting.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Agree 100%. You need empirical data. You're not just going to throw one of those out on
Right.
Metcalf Street because
We
somebody
always said
tells
it
you
was
they're
perception
speeders.
too, so.
Right, but we have had conversation, and I know the manager, community development, was following up on the street light thing, because we're having a difficult time getting our local police service to actually put up a speed spy so we can look at some of this empirical data to see if there's actually a problem. Possibly what the manager's looking into would suffice to give us over the next little while the data we need to make a sound decision on pursuing something like this.
Okay, well, then that's another thing. I didn't even know if people know what you're talking about in that regard. So we've gone on to a lot of tangents right here. I'm going to recommend that we put this on hold for right now. No further investigation, no nothing right now. Rochelle, maybe you can come back and talk about what Councillor Valleycat's talking about, just so everybody's on the same page here for that. And we need to move on. It's getting rather late. Yes, Councillor
One
Fleeter.
more question. Could I get permission to investigate this?
No, because we feel that we don't think it's warranted. I think that's what I'm
Okay,
hearing,
okay.
right?
Well, I don't think it's that we don't think it's warranted.
It's a
We want
perception
that-
thing.
We want that data first
Mhm.
before we move on with that phase.
Okay.
And so this, anyway. We have resolved that council accept the traffic calming and speeding options report. And just treat it as that, accept the council report. Okay,
Do we move it to budget? Do we want to see if there's money at budget or do we leave it?
I think we're just going to accept the
Oh,
report
that's
right now
fine.
because there were too many options in there and we don't know what we want to do at this point. Accept the report. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Request to install commercial water systems in halls. Could I have a move and a second to get them table? Thank you. Deputy Mayor Demarche, thank you, Councillor Palmetier. I'm not sure, did everybody get the question that Councillor Falila raised and all that information? I can't remember if it went to everybody.
When I responded, I made sure I CC'd all the rest
Thank
of
you.
council.
Thank you. Okay, so yes, again, this is, one of the things that I had talked about with Gloria is we could use, if we're looking at paying for this, we can use some of the capital funds that we allocate to each of the hamlets to pay for this. And then if there's not enough in the sufficient, in one of those funds to cover the cost for an individual, we can borrow from next year, put it in, and then next year the fund would be reduced by that amount, just so that we can get this done. Go ahead.
Through the mayor to the CIO treasurer, do we know how much? I'm sure we do. Can you tell me how much exists in each one of those funds right now?
The Actinolite Hall Reserve Fund right now has $7,149 and the Thomasburg one has $13,397. So both of them are enough to cover the 50% of this bill.
Yes, Councillor Filler.
So another question I had was are these ultraviolet systems capable of providing safe water? Like they will eliminate some things, but what? Like, I mean, are they, sorry, can you? I don't know, what, can you put these systems in and be guaranteed that the water is safe to drink? Like, we still have to have it tested. But, and the more consumption, the more you would need one of these things for sure. But
Just to speak to that, we have installed a similar system at home. And it is pretty much guaranteed that the water it kills anything that is going to be in, like, you know, some bacteria or whatever. Yeah. The only thing, like, you know, is we also have a water softener. Okay, and then I think we're going to move to this reverse osmosis because it will take the water, the salt out of the water. In our case at home, that's my big thing right now, but go ahead.
so that's another question I had as well, your worship, is would reverse osmosis do more than this, or would it not?
I think
And I don't know what they're worth. I mean, here's more work for something, yeah, but I would like to know if we're doing the right thing for the right reason. That's all.
wait, no, just let me pull this up here again.
And we definitely do need to be, you know, doing things that are gonna make sure that the public is safe. So I mean, I'm not, that's not what I'm saying. I just wanna make sure that we're covering all the bases.
Sorry, I'm just pulling up.
Through your worship, where do we sit on the procurement policy with something of this size?
Of this size, because it technically wasn't budgeted, it would be canceled. If it was a budgeted item, it would be authorized by the manager of that department. Because you're only looking at in essence, per unit, about 5,500 with the non-rebated tax put in.
I just wondered, we had one quote.
Yeah, because we got ours
Yeah.
from Comfort Water.
I just was curious where our threshold was.
Yeah, so we probably should look at getting 2 more quotes, which if it's authorized to install, I would actually suggest that, yes, we go through and get a full 3 quotes and choose whatever the cheapest is, but before we do anything, we gotta know what council was willing to invest in it,
But
because
I
it
think we
is,
should look at maybe the reverse osmosis, like, get a quote for both, just the UV, because they work together, the UV and then. Go
Your
ahead.
worship, I think going forward, we need to come in with a budgetary amount to guess off of, because the contractor here is rated at disadvantage right off the bat. Right, it's their name and how much money. When we go to investigate this. Like, that's just why I was asking it, just, usually we're used to seeing a list of dollar figures and. Like if you're anybody else and you're wanting to quote this, you just look at.
Well, the other
council
thing
meeting.
too, though, is that we can go out and tell them that we want them to relook at the quote and add the reverse osmosis in it, which isn't in this one right now, so then it changes the whole nature of the quote. So now nobody knows what he's gonna come back with.
that is
Okay.
correct.
Okay, and then we reach out, the person that we dealt with. Was Mark Belfoyle from Comfort Country Water. He lives in Tweed too. I can send you that information. Yes, Councillor Philip.
Your worship, would Aqua be able to give us, like, they won't be able to give us a quote, but would they be able to give us some information? If one works, both work, would they?
They
work
probably
better
would.
in
It
tandem?
doesn't hurt to reach out and ask them, like, to explain the situation we're facing, and this is what we're looking at. Get their input.
But this isn't a municipal water system.
Doesn't matter. I mean, we're just looking for guidance.
Okay. Small ones.
Just send them a letter to say, like, this is what we're looking at doing. What's your take on these systems? Yes, go ahead, Ryan.
The reason, sorry, through your worship, the reason we went with the one quote is Scott Trotter, I would say, is cheaper than anyone I've seen for plumbing. He's very reasonable with us. He does all of our service work. I've gotten other prices from other companies. He's always more than fair, does a good job. So he's the one who noticed the problem. I figured we, go on a limb, give him the work and get it done with. So that's just my opinion anyway.
But I think too, what we're asking him now is to come back with a different quote. Because we want to look at 2 aspects to the system. I mean, we got to be careful even with that logic, because we've already been in a situation where we've had a tender, where we could have just gone with somebody that's local, and we just said, no, we don't want to do that. Like, we want to make sure that it's our responsibility to get the best bang for the buck on behalf of the residents within the community. So I think it's in our best interest too. And there are other people in the community that might be doing this, I don't know. But that's my position, my feeling on this. Any discussion? Okay, be it resolved that council directs staff to obtain further quotes for the water system installation, including a reverse osmosis system. She is good. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Bylaws. Could I have a move and a second to table bylaw number 2024-76? A bylaw to adopt a municipal consent policy for the municipality of Tweed. Move in a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Demarche. Any questions on that bylaw? Yes, Councillor Valiquette.
I did make a couple notes, but I didn't scroll. Somewhere in there it says Tweed unless somebody got it, I'll let somebody find that one. More work. Oh, no, that's, yeah. That's 13 other considerations. Towns, I was curious of some point in time. It talked about the CAO treasurer making a decision. Okay, so first one, a pavement degradation fee. So I thought we make Councilor Fluger can help me. I thought we weren't gonna let anybody dig on our roads if depending on the age of the work that was done.
Well, we do have something, if we do a new road, it's like a 5 years, you can't dig up the road or something,
Council passed a 10-year one.
or 10-year, okay.
So I just, in appendix F, it says that there's a penalty. I remember.
Ryan,
Through his worship, this is for any damage that might incur as well. It's not necessarily permission to cut into our road. So if for some reason something does happen out there, we have something to come back with.
so like if they had a big heavy piece of equipment and it put the weight of it damaged the pavement or whatever.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Councilor Pillar.
Okay, and I did notice and I thought I marked it, but there is the save harmless clause in this as well. I did read that and I think that's very important that we get them to sign off on that because and to the your worship, through his worship to the roads manager. When we, like, I don't, so when these guys come in for the fiber optic, thank you, sir. So when they install these little boxes and things, I know you're new at the job, but do we have a walkabout to see where they're gonna put these things, or do they give you a plan, or do they? Because there's some of those things that are gonna get smoked. Unless the guys are really careful. And they were in before you came here, so.
Through his worship to Councillor Fleeler, that's typically what happens. So there's a review done on our part, and then kind of a site visit will go and determine where we want them within our right of way. Because it seems like a lot of them where they are placed now are in pretty inconvenient spots, but that's the whole process we go through. We usually push it right back to property line, and then it's out of our way, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I just want to remind everybody, it's now 10:02 and we have a whack of stuff left to discover, a huge closed meeting. Deputy Mayor Marsh.
Oh, just the one thing that came to mind to the public works manager, we have had trouble in the past with Enbridge and their gas cuts. Would this allow us to go back to them and say, hey, come and fix them?
They have to do that.
Like, but they don't currently, like there's lumps all over the place. Is that something that we could back up on?
Through his worship to Deputy Mayor DeMarche, not at this point. The work's kind of been done. I mean, if something had happened, then it kind of is what it is. I would say going forward, yeah, we would have a leg to stand on for sure. If some damage was to occur, yeah, then we can come back and say, hey, you owe us this basically.
Any other questions? Be it resolved that bylaw number 2024-76 be read a first, second, third, and final time passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 24th day of September 2024 with noted amendments. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a move and a second to table bylaw number 2024-77, a bylaw to adopt a procurement policy for the municipality of Tweed and to repeal bylaw number 2020-54. A move and a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Any questions?
So I found.
You found it in this one.
So it's a number 9 bid analysis. So it said tenders shall be tabulated and analyzed by the treasurer and recommendations forwarded. I was curious if or why the department head isn't involved in that analysis.
With this one, that's more of something that's just kind of came with the last one. It was always the treasurer who was part of the tabulating. A minor amendment here to put in treasurer and department head should still allow it to be able to be passed by bylaw, because that is a very minor impact to the policy. That's just that's just how the previous one was, and I didn't actually change anything on that side.
Because it was not mentioned at that time.
Yeah,
Okay,
I apologize, because I think that existed in the tender and the RFP. RFP? Yeah, I think it was similar in both of those, and I was
Yeah.
just curious why the,
more of the legacy wording, basically.
thank you.
any problems with that? I have none, okay, anything else? Yes,
Through the mayor to see, I guess, earlier in this council meeting, we approved the purchase of sand and gravel. Back to our initial discussions on this bylaw, some of the discussion came around that at that time, we were in a situation that we would have to call a special meeting of council to approve the purchase of sand and gravel. My question is there been a material change in circumstances here that requires maybe further discussion or reconsideration of this bylaw?
So that was more of an example last time because we were just receiving the bids on that one. And I had a feeling that it was probably going to be over budget. After speaking with the manager, we opted that because of scheduling, we weren't likely to be able to schedule another meeting anyways, and that it would have to wait until tonight because the last couple of weeks have been very busy with conferences and other meetings going on. So that was more of an example when I was explaining what could happen and when it would come to council and when it would not come to council. If it was, because at the time I also said that, well, if it's only $1,000 over, if we needed a special council meeting for $1,000, it was more of an example piece of what I was saying at the last meeting.
don't have a problem. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2024-77 be read a first, second, third, and final time, pass, sign, and seal in open council this 24th day of September 24 with amendments as noted. All in favor? Thank you. Do we have 3 on that? Did you get that? Thank you. Okay, items for consideration. Could I have a move and a seconder to table the Josh Rajat Company and 97677 Ontario Inc. Request for a bylaw to remove holding provision from zoning bylaw number 2022-41 for lots at 82 and 88 Conchi Road. A move and a seconder, please. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Marsh, and thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Any questions on said amendment? Seeing none, be it resolved that council authorize staff to prepare the appropriate bylaw to remove the holding provision from the rural residential zones established by zoning bylaw number 2022-41 for the properties located at 82 and 88 Conchi Road for consideration at the next regular council meeting. All in favor? Thank you. Tweed Fair Board. Okay, I'm moving a seconder to table the Tweed Fair Board request permission to use the arena lot and fairgrounds Saturday, June 14th, 2025 to continue the annual car show previously organized by the Tweed and Area Chamber of Commerce. Moving a seconder, please. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Marsh. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Any questions? Yes.
Your worship, I talked to Jeanette Honey on the weekend a little bit, and if we could get, it has to do with fire safety, the fire route. So if we could get the fire chief, the fire safety officer, I don't know if.
Through the mayor to Councillor Fleeler, we're gonna have to be meeting with them this winter to come up with a policy and rules for the fairgrounds, with the fairgrounds committee and the fair board, so that everybody's on a even playing field to go forward. So there will be policy brought into place.
Typically, the way they have the car set up, the fire route is okay. at least it was the last time I saw it. What happened with the fair was the fire route was completely blocked off, and that was what the major issue is. Okay, so you're going to be addressing that at your fair board
Well,
meeting?
we discussed it at our
Okay.
meeting on site.
Yes, Councilor Valiquette.
Quickly, I just want to say that maybe the Fair Board needs to explore other options for parking vehicles and having fairs like using the grass or the ring road and just using the parking lot at the arena for parking.
That's the way it is in Sterling. It's out in the field. But I mean, you're going to talk about all that stuff, right? Okay. Does it have anything to do with this right here?
It does, but
Okay.
well, it's the parking. So we also need to address the issue for the hockey parking as well. A fire road.
This is a fair board request to use the arena parking lot for the car show. Was that okay if we, okay?
Yep, okay.
Okay, be it resolved that council approve the Tweed Fair Board using the arena parking lot and fairground Saturday, June 14, 2025 for the annual car show previously organized by the Tweed and Area Chamber of Commerce. And further that the Tweed Fair Board provide a certificate of insurance naming the municipality of Tweed as additional insurance. All in favor? Thank you. Tweed Agriculture Society, the Tweed Agriculture Society requests approval to re-screw and paint the two barns located on the fairgrounds, and that municipality of Tweed pay half the cost. Could I have a move in a second to get that on the table, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Marsh, and thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Deputy Mayor Marsh, yes.
Through the mayor, I think we had previously budgeted for this item, if I'm not mistaken, a few years ago. And I think what we had said was, well, there should be one administrator of the funds and to have the agricultural society just forward their half to us for administrating when the proper receipts and stuff are in. Am I correct?
I believe it had been put into the budget, but then removed before the final budget had been approved. I think that was 23. So that's why it hasn't been done to date.
But so I guess Deputy Mayor DeMarsh was saying though, they thought there was money. You're saying there is no money. Is that what? No. I mean, I'm not, yeah, okay.
At this point, I have no money in. the
Okay, no, I thought it
budget
was in there, sorry,
That's
so
fine.
No.
just have to go to budget.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so we'll have to go to budget. I'm thinking like, we,
So Mayor, I think we can have the discussion of budget about this, but I'd like to just motion that we defer to budget.
That, I guess it's proper place.
would.
Yeah.
Okay, resolve that council does not approve the Tweed Agriculture rescrewing and painting the two barns located on the fairgrounds at this time, and further that the matter be deferred to the 2025 budget deliberations. Well, we haven't got any money right now, and so all in favor?
Yeah.
Thank you. Proposed zoning bylaw amendments. No description. What's this then? Oh, go please, yes, Deputy Clerk.
Yeah, through the mayor, there's a staff report there attached to this. Essentially, this is going back to the notice of motion from February where staff were asked to investigate lot coverage, some setbacks, parking requirements, which we've since completed. This is the tail end of that notice of motion. These are the remaining items that are a little more complicated and require a little bit more in-depth analysis when looking at it before we just make some changes. The Committee of Adjustment meeting in April, we gathered some information from a couple of local developers on what they'd like to see. We were waiting until the administrative update to the zoning bylaw was completed to move into this project. That was completed in August, so we're ready to move into that now. I've had a kind of a preliminary discussion with the senior planner at Hastings County about where we should go with this. And his suggestion was to bring forward this staff report to allow council the decision of how they want to proceed with investigating what amendments are appropriate for our community.
And you are proposing that because of the nature and the magnitude of what this is all about, that we engage the county to help with this decision. Yeah.
Absolutely, at least a qualified planner, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? Yes, go ahead.
First, through the mayor, I'd just like to thank the staff. This was a huge ask from our staff, and I want to thank you for everything you've done to get it to this point. And I do agree you're going to need some assistance going forward, so that's good. Thank you.
Okay, I'm moving a seconder to get that, the proposed zoning bylaw amendments, proposal onto the table. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier, and thank you, Councillor Valley-Cat. Be it resolved that council directs staff to proceed with the county supported review option, and further that zoning administrator work with the county director of planning to determine the appropriate allocation of county resources. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, we're going to move into a closed meeting now. Could I have a move and a seconder to move into close, please? Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Thank you, Councillor Valley-Cat. All in favor? Be it resolved that council go into a closed meeting, Laurie, at 8:05. 8:05. It's on. Okay, are we hooked up, Gloria? Good, okay. Could I have a move and a seconder for notification of closed meeting and staff direction, please? Thank you, Councilor Valiquette. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Marsh. Be it resolved that staff follow council direction from the closed meeting. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table the correspondence information, please? Thank you, Councilor Valiquette. Thank you, Councilor Fleeler. I'm not going to belabor this due to the time, but this Quinte recycling has me extremely worried and the impact that it's going to have on our residents. Now, I know it's a process which is ongoing. I know it's something that's not going to be established until 2025. But the thing is, I want to get ahead of this. I want residents to know that this is a direction from the province. This is not something that all of us have decided that we want to do. There's going to be a certain degree of funds saved, but there's going to be, and also an additional funds have to be spent. I'm going to want that all laid out so that the residents in this municipality are fully aware what's coming down. And then if they've got concerns, they reach out to their member of provincial parliament and share those concerns. That's all I want to say at this time on this.
Can I just speak to that?
Sure.
So just back to the budget that was in front of us here. So the Blue Box program is going till July. So there is some money sitting there. So what they have done, it was like 800,000. They've taken 500,000 of it and they've spread it proportionately across the municipalities to bring our overall cost down. And because we're only operating till July, they're asked to, our billing cycle is quite a bit lower, as you see here. They did keep about 200 or 300,000 in reserves for for payroll and what's that? Not payroll, but when somebody's
Final closing
severance.
costs.
I was trying to think of the word. So that's been looked after. There was no added cost coming to us for that, but you're right, there's gonna be some concern going forward.
Yeah, well, there's going to be a lot of confusion going forward. Just go
So
ahead.
at one point there, the province owed them $2 million. And they weren't sure if they were gonna get some of that, any of it, none of it. I don't know.
Well,
I don't think we got any.
there's,
I wasn't aware of any of it coming in anyway, but I don't know.
okay, so anybody want to draw their attention to anything here? I see we got some more resolutions in support of Councillor Valiquette's OPP. Yeah.
Touch on quickly. If I may, it was one. Where's it? Oh, about the doctor recruitment program for Hastings County.
Mhm.
Now, I think you'd said in the meeting about this coming back they're joining this, if I understand this correctly, they're joining this conglomerate of different areas that are going to try to recruit doctors, and I don't know whether that includes financial incentives or whatever, but I certainly hope that this doesn't fall back on the backs of municipalities where it's a provincial purview. And you said the same thing in your remarks in Hastings County, so.
Well, no, what I had said in my remarks is that we shouldn't be, but we are, because we have to, because the province is not doing anything to ensure that we get the doctors that we need. So Hastings County has in a program, which is an incentive. They're going to be joining this Eastern Mayors Caucus group to even go more internationally. But there will be incentives again. But that's what we have to do. My comment was, this is a healthcare issue and it should be the province that should be paying for the doctors that we're recruiting. And I also said that what we should be doing as the county, we should be billing the province for the fees that we put in place to attract doctors here, because it should be them that's paying it. We know they won't pay it, but they need to know how much we're doing it, because you divest yourself of your responsibility when you know that somebody else is going to pick up the ball when you've dropped it. And that is totally wrong. You're right. I mean, but we have to do what we have to do to get our doctors.
And I agree, we need doctors, there's not about it, but I think it's a slippery slope once you start. Where do you draw the line here? You know what I mean? So
Slippery slope. We've been doing it for God knows how many years now. And the thing is because Hastings County was the leader in doing this, it's spread right across the province now. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's a slippery slope and we've fallen down that slope. It's ridiculous.
But we should also realize how fortunate we are to have the
Oh.
Gateway and their administrator is doing to secure doctors.
Well, I mean, you know, it was good that Hastings County was able to find 2 young doctors to replace a woman and a man, a retiring older doctor, which we're very lucky for. We're also grateful that the ED there is working diligently, tirelessly to secure additional doctors for our community. We've got a request in for 2 more. Because our model is slightly different than, say, Center Hastings model, because we are a community center. They treat the doctors differently in both cases. Our money for our doctors comes from an OHIP pot, and they determine how much money we're going to get and how many doctors we can have. And which is wrong, because we have just as much of a need for doctors here as we do in Center Hastings, but because of the 2 different models, okay, where they are treated as employees as opposed to running a practice. Okay, we pay the price for that. Anyway, we have another, if you can believe it, 8 doctors that want to move here, that want to be in our practice. We have needs for immediately 2 more, but if we want to be sufficient, we should have 3 to 4. We've got people who want to come here because of this model. And because of this model, we can't hire them. That's how stupid everything is.
You know, and your worship, you spoke about the money that we have to put out to buy equipment and all. But you know what? I went through that process down there. I was scared beyond being scared. And the doctor and the physiotherapist talked to me and took all that fear right away from me. I was treated like, I can't explain how good I was treated. And I expressed that to them down there, but we have to keep buying, paying, and I don't know where it's gonna end, but I don't.
You know, I just want to go to one other thing. This letter from Peter Bethlenfalvy, the Minister of Finance. This was in regards to a AMO resolution that we passed and supported. I'm trying to figure out why the letter was coming. But in it, like, he talks about all the good that he's done for Tweed. He says, for example, the municipality of Tweed received over 330,000 in 2024. He neglected to mention that they reduced it by 51,000 from 2023, which was a 1% tax increase for this municipality. Anyway, I will be responding back to this letter as well. I just wanted to put it in there. Any other questions or comments? Okay, go back up here. Be it resolved that the correspondence information be received and filed. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder for the conformatory bylaw, please? Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Thank you, Councillor Fleeler. Be it resolved that the conformatory bylaw number 2024-78 be read a first, second, and third and final time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 24th day of September 2024. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder to adjourn today's meeting? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Marsh. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Be it resolved that council adjourn at 8:44, just under the wire.